And so I went around and Paul enjoyed the film, and I'm sure Shane's very excited about that. So, thank you with that. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to help kind of, I guess, facilitate this Q&A a little bit. I just had a kind of a broad session from him and his team, and then if you guys want, I'll open up for you. I'll do my best to run around the mic and give you guys a chance to ask a question. If I don't get to you, or you can scream, feel free, cut someone else off, be polite. But without further ado, if you want to come on up. And I was just curious, I remember early on we were, Michael, our artistic director, talking about booking this film and reading about it, and I just thought it was such a local tie, and the concept is very cool. I just have a very, broad question of how long you guys been thinking about it, how long did it take to put together, and the whole background behind it. So I'll pass you this one, and I'll still take it.
And just to start very quickly, reintroduce Brendan McHugh, our great producer, and Courtney, Eady, who was our editor. She did a good job. Okay, so to answer that question, Dave Coleman and I, Dave who's down here, who plays Stacey. Dave and I have been talking about this for about 3 years. We did a web series together with a lot of the cast in this movie was in that web series, who are all also here today. Anyway, we talked about doing it. It was just an idea I'd been kicking around. A friend of mine who directed a film that's in this festival called Leave Me Like You Found Me, directed an improvised feature called The Freebie, and I really liked it. I liked the idea of doing a movie without a script. So this movie doesn't have a script. So Dave and I talked about trying to do an improvised film about 3 years ago, and then last year, I told Brendan, this time last year, probably less than a year ago, or maybe just this time, I told Brendan that I really wanted to do it, because if I didn't do it, this date would actually happen, so this date's coming up in less than 2 months, and I was afraid if I didn't do it before that date, the idea would be obsolete, and I could never do it, and I regret it for the rest of my life. So, much like Stacey. So, with Brendan's help, and then all my friends' help, Courtney's help, we did it last winter, and we've been editing it since. So, do you guys have anything to add? All right. Thank you guys for enjoying it. That was really great. Sorry about the sound. I forgot to say there was some sound things that we know were going on, so I'm sorry. Any questions?
Anybody have any questions? All right, here we go.
My name is Robert McCord, and I was actually kind of curious. Did you ever get his band back?
Did you ever get his band back?
The sequel. Working on a sequel right now. I hope he gets his band back.
We drove to New York. This is funny. We drove to New York, because this movie never ends. We were driving to New York in that van today, and there was a gorgeous sunset, and we've been talking about getting a shot of that van driving in the sunset, and I was seriously on the drive over here thinking about putting that in the movie. We did grab a shot of the skyline, but this movie still isn't over for us. Oh, we got one up here. Can you...
Like, how responsive have people been about the December 21st thing when you're talking about the movie? Because I'm personally taking the day off myself, and everybody thinks I'm crazy, and nobody wants to talk about it. And so I'm just wondering, as you're talking about the film, are you getting like the response of, oh, that shit, or?
No, people actually, I don't think really discuss that with us. If anything, I hear a lot of people misinterpret the idea that they think this movie is taking place during an actual apocalypse, which it's not. It's just like a regular day with the energy heightened. Not many people talk about it, although my hope for the movie is that people do take off work that day, like recognize, let's just take off, like let's just like forget our day jobs, because what if it were to end, which is like Stacey's whole MO, like just in case, it's probably not, but just in case, why go to work today?
Well, we have to know how much this costs, how much you're invested in this thing, and how did you raise the money to do it?
That's a great question. I hate raising money. I hate asking anyone for money. Except for my mom. Mom, did you like it?
Over here.
You liked it?
Yes.
Okay. right there. But I paid for it out of pocket. We said it was going to be a low number, which always raised my, it's still going up. My parents, my Christmas gift last year was my parents agreed to cater the film, which is always an annoying cost, and they covered that. But the number is only a few $1,000s. It slowly goes up, and there's some expenditures I haven't gotten back yet that we can look at back, but several $1,000s in the 4-figure range.
Yeah, I wanted to note, our budget was 0.0032% of Silver Linings Playbook, which I've heard is a great film, but in its month, we spent very little money on it. It's pretty good.
That's true. He was an accountant on that movie. It was just playing at the festival and told me it's 0.0032% of that.
Oh, it is? I can't think of those real budget numbers.
You're saying that now, because I don't want to get in trouble. That's the number. Oh, we have some back here if they can shout them.
Yeah, it can be tougher.
Yeah. Yeah. So what that means is we had a 10-page outline that would say Stacey and Parker decided to steal Brendan's van, or actually that wasn't written in it. But we would have something that said Stacey awkwardly arrived to Parker's apartment, and then Jade Ellison, our wonderful actress, and Dave, who deserves a round of applause. And Jade Sullivan, we would sort of meet up before we filmed the movie and kind of talk about what that scene might entail, and then we would meet in this weird apartment that my boss owns and kind of redo that scene, and then kind of on the day they would just sort of have an idea of what they could say, but they just made it up as they went along. Really, everything in this movie is just what they made up on the spot. When they go to the boss, you guys want to talk about this?
I can talk about this. We shot some digital SLRs, and it's we had 3 cameras running at all times, so we would just run really long takes, and then, these actors did great jobs of coming up with really good stuff to use, for the scenes, but then in editing, Courtney did, a phenomenal job of finding conversations and basically kind of, writing this movie in post, so.
Yeah, just to point out, what our movie is not exactly what we thought it was going to be. It was very much Courtney kind of finding the best parts and kind of retelling the story we wanted to tell. There are very different cuts of this movie. The first one we saw, Dave comes off as a jerk. He's really mean, right, Dave?
Yep.
Yeah. And then we had to we spent a lot of time trying to make him a nice person, but no, he did a good job. But yeah, so that's what it was. We had a 10-page outline. We knew what the scenes were. We went to location. We'd have 3 hours to film at a bar, or 2 hours to film in a written house because it was 3 a.m. and we're all really tired, and they would just do it. We would kind of help them talk about this, and they would go talk about this, and then we edit it later. Another one back there.
So I saw that Jonathan Demme was one of the executive producers, and knowing his history for filmmaking in Philadelphia, I was just wondering what role he played as far as creativity or giving you guys any guidance or help.
Sure. He's I work with Jonathan. He's sort of a mentor to me, so I would argue that everything comes from him. I found for me, in the cutting room, he gave us notes and kind of gave us ideas, and it was very much just just an overseer and helper of the project. And he's our biggest fan, which is really nice. He gave us a really nice review, and it's very few notes. In fact, I think there was one, and it was super easy. That's what he did. But my fun thing was that I didn't realize how much I was learning from him until I was in the cutting room with Courtney, and I've been in the cutting room with Jonathan probably about 4 times now, and I liken it to Mr. McHugh. You don't really realize what he's teaching you, and then I'm in the experience where I need to see what I've learned, and then I learn oh, I'm cutting like Jonathan would. I'm kind of taking cues from him. So it was just very much a mentorship kind of thing. And he's my boss, and he knew that putting his name on would be helpful. So. We have one down here.
challenge you've been presented?
Sorry, Jared.
I need to work out.
You look contract, mostly local musicians.
Actually, you know what? This is great. The party song that we filmed had a Bonnie Bear temp track for about 8 months now. It was a temp track. It was fun. Oh, I know why. Anyway, but then Brendan and our friend Tom recorded that last week. Like that beautiful song in the party, they did that last week. This guy. And it is local bands. It's bands like Everyone Everywhere. Who else? And it's Selah Selah. So yeah, these local musicians. Oh, and our great composer, McHugh, who did great. He's here. Yeah, he's great at this. He did he did a lot of that, music and writing and musical interludes. He was a composer and just did a great job. But he's in New York. I weirdly met him at a party, and he was like making fun of my movie because I had it on, and then he was like, oh yeah, I actually majored in like musical composition. I love to do your movie. I was like, yeah. And he did a great job. Oh, and go ahead. Any more questions?
Back to the Silk City scene with the music overlays. I thought that was a really cool scene, and like, what prompted the decision to just have it completely music? Was it in the editing room or beforehand?
Well, Courtney, you remember what happened?
Actually, Shane had an idea to have a scene where it was just completely driven by the people, no speaking, just music over the top of it, and I don't know, it just...
Well, so the reason Shane had that idea is because part of making a movie with very little money is you find out that you go to a location and you just can't record sound, and you can't do it, and we don't have the money to rent out a bar and bring in 125 extras and shoot a party scene with the right sound. So we couldn't shoot and record sound there, and as we did with many of the things in the movie, so what if we just don't shoot sound, and what if we don't record sound and play off their reactions and looks, and then we'll find a cool song.
Which makes it even more powerful, I think. You know, for me, that scene is the most powerful in the entire movie because of that.
Totally.
You know?
And I think, like, because they just kind of jabber the whole movie, like, it's nice to have these little breaks. It's nice to have those musical breaks and just, like, you know, a picture was worth 1,000 words. If you know exactly what's happening in that scene, I think. I wondered if my dad was understanding what's happening in that scene. I even compared to my dad has no idea what's happening. But, yeah. You know, I would argue that you know exactly what's happening in that scene. Anything else?
We have a round of applause from the other actors there.
Oh yeah, I wanted to do it. Can I just stand up with the work on the phone? Like, Mr. Burger, he plays Simon, Chris Ronnie, he plays Fred, he's got a beard, Kelly Brown, he's a costume designer, John Scott, the producer, everything, he's like, Mary, I'm sorry, but that's a good name, Mary. Who else do we have? Fred, Dave Cohen, Jay Ellison. Who am I missing there? Oh, Susan, our Eady, Mike Marino, our second Eady, Jason, or Haley, who shot the movie. Come on. Ryan Cohen, who was at VIP with the Stacey. Ryan is the only reason we could see this movie on HC tonight. Who else? I'm so sorry to miss you. Our friend, Jonathan, is Matt Smith here? Okay. He's outside.
He's on set.
Oh, he's on set. So anyway, and all of these guys, just to say, everyone worked for nothing. They did it because they like us, and we think, I don't know if they still like us, and they did it because they like enjoy making films, and we shot it over 5 days, and then had a couple little pickup days of reshoots, and they all did it just because they're really sweet people. So thank you, everyone. I hope it was worth it after seeing it today.
It was.
Yeah.